I began drawing when I was about 10. I had a lot of alone time and not many hobbies, so I found myself sketching on whatever paper I could find at home, even calendars. That's probably what kickstarted my interest in drawing. My parents were often busy, so I didn't have many chances to play or do things with them, leading me to look for things I could do alone, like origami, drawing, and crafts. My parents would compliment my art, and the others around me supported my creativity too. Gradually, it just naturally became my hobby. At school, when asked about my hobbies, I started saying drawing, and I remember constantly doodling on anything: textbooks, notebooks, even my gym clothes. My journey towards becoming a professional illustrator began in high school, when I started seriously considering my future and what to do about university. It was then that I really thought about what type of art I wanted to make and discovered my true passion for drawing, which has led me here. When I was a child, I enjoyed coloring and drawing the shapes of animals and plants I liked. Then I started doodling my favorite manga and game characters in my textbooks and notebooks. One day, I came across the Korean version of a book by Bernard Werber featuring illustrations by Kim Jong-gi. The unique compositions and character portrayals were unlike anything I'd done before. It was an eye-opener, and I realized that I was looking at art that represented what it really meant to be good at drawing. My interest in drawing grew from there. Playing games like Slap Up Party, Arad Senki, and Blade and Soul with my friends, I was exposed to various game illustrations and started creating fan art. The dream of seeing my characters in a game motivated me to improve and pursue this path. During his lifetime, Kim Jong-gi drew many manga and frequently did live drawings. His work showcased dynamic poses and intricate details that went beyond my simple sketches. Seeing his work made me aspire to reach that level of skill and expression in my own art. Initially, I mainly drew characters from manga. As I said, when I was a kid, I drew animals, plants, and fish. During my childhood, Japanese anime like Digimon and Pokemon started entering the Korean market. Later on, I got into drawing detailed pictures inspired by Korean video game illustrations. Since I didn't have fancy art supplies, I often used Windows Paint for coloring. Manga is simpler and has more limitations compared to traditional art, so I've always tried to make my characters look more 3D. At university, I majored in animation and learned how to make drawn characters move naturally in a sequence. This helped me figure out how to make my drawings look more three-dimensional and capture realistic movements. I guess that's when I started adding real-life details to my manga characters to make them look more lifelike. I remember practicing ways to create a sense of depth in a simple yet effective way, rather than relying on the more complex techniques like quick sketching or anatomy, which are common in Western art. Especially during my university days, I often practiced drawing objects from different angles and poses, often sketching in notebooks at the cafeteria or on the bus amidst my busy schedule of classes and part-time jobs. When I decided to be a game illustrator, I started focusing on making my art more detailed and complete. I began to study color theory and visual design in depth to make my drawings look cooler. Now, I'm always trying to learn new things to make my art better. I think it's important to maintain an interest in abstract concepts, like understanding why people like certain types of art and what makes those artworks special. My characters are often for games or anime, so they need to be eye-catching and cool. But my inspiration comes from more than just creating beautiful characters. I'm intrigued by what characters people are drawn to and their reasons. This insight fuels my creativity. I also like to keep an eye on unique moods or themes, especially in music and music videos, and think about how to weave these into my characters. This approach not only boosts my motivation, but also my imagination. So, in my art, I'm not only influenced by visual media like drawings or photos, I also draw inspiration from music, movies, and other media. I think about how to visually represent abstract concepts like situations or personalities in character design, and this really helps me deepen my interest and creativity in my drawings. When I was younger, I got the chance to write a book. A publisher contacted me, and at that time I was still a student, viewing illustration more as a hobby rather than a potential career path. But when I started writing the book at the publisher's suggestion, I began to take drawing more seriously. The character I created for the cover has stayed with me, not because of its appearance or my fondness for it, but because of the mindset I had while drawing it. It didn't take very long. I was juggling my graduation project, so my drawing time was limited. The cover took just 2 or 3 days to complete. I remember it clearly because I focused so much on it during that short time. When I wrote that book, I still considered myself someone who was learning the ropes as well, so I wrote it like I was showing my study notes to the readers. My goal was to make it easy for beginners to start drawing without feeling overwhelmed by technicalities. A review that really stayed with me said, "I never thought I was good at drawing, but following this book made it easier than I thought, and I really enjoyed the process." Reading that made me feel like I had achieved my purpose, and I was so glad I wrote it. Before I entered university, I explored various subjects related to drawing, such as art history, Western art, and design, but I soon realized that what I enjoyed most was imagining characters and bringing them to life on canvas or screen. After studying animation and seeing my characters come alive, I was captivated by the idea of seeing my creations come to life in games and other media. This dream led me to become a character illustrator for games and anime. Once upon a time, I used to have a blog instead of using social media, and a major Korean game company noticed my sketches there and offered me a simple, short-term job. It was a small project for a simple puzzle game where I had to draw some pets and such. It wasn't a big project, but it was my first opportunity to earn some money through drawing. Back then, I barely knew how to use a tablet, but I practiced tirelessly with digital tools and often worked through the night to complete the illustrations. Yes, definitely. Seeing all the pieces come together and realizing that my drawings were going to be part of a game was incredibly fulfilling. It was a big step up from just sketching. Besides the job I just mentioned, I took on various drawing gigs like painting portraits at events and illustrating children's books. Also, I just really loved to draw game characters, whether it was for a paying job or not, and kept entering contests. Once, I participated in a fan art contest for a game I liked and was lucky enough to win an award and even receive a job offer. Working on that project was a mix of passion, fun, and deep reflection. The sense of accomplishment I felt when I saw the finished work was greater than any other project I had done. Since then, I've been in the constant mindset of trying to objectively evaluate what I need to learn to improve and where I'm still lacking, which has helped me define my identity as a character illustrator. The most important thing for me is whether I can enjoy the process of working on the commission. That's something I always take into consideration. If I like the subject or it's something I'm good at, I usually have more fun doing it. And when I enjoy the work, the final drawing usually turns out better. So the main thing I think about is whether I'll enjoy the work and if I can show that enjoyment in the finished drawing. I've done book covers before, but this one was special because it gave me the chance to represent a collective of artists from Korea. It was exciting, although a bit challenging. I wanted to stay true to my style while ensuring that the cover would be memorable in terms of ideas and color scheme. As I said, my main criterion for taking on work is whether it allows me to enjoy the drawing process. When I work on my own projects, I can try new things and mix different styles. But when someone hires me because they like my work, I do feel pressure to keep up the quality they expect while also incorporating those new elements. If I'm working on something that fits my regular style, I'll stick to it as much as possible. However, when I ask the client for feedback, I sometimes come up with suggestions to change things up a bit. Having the opportunity to discuss and brainstorm ideas with the client can be really helpful. It makes the drawing process feel more comfortable and takes some of the pressure off. My main passions outside of drawing are cats and traveling. Spending time with cats is my go-to way to relax. When I find some leeway in my drawing schedule, I also love to travel to clear my head. I'm not the type to sit and play games for long periods, but I'll sometimes play rhythm games for like 10 to 30 minutes at a time. When just chilling out with some cats, I just focus on them and don't think about work. But when I travel, getting out of my usual routine and seeing new places and people often sparks ideas. I find myself thinking, I've never drawn anything like this before, or it would be fun to draw this in my style. This kind of inspiration feels light and effortless. When I try to force creativity, even observing things can feel hard, but the inspiration that comes when I'm just relaxing is more breezy. Once I'm recharged with these fresh ideas, I find it easier to get back into drawing without overthinking. I just pick up the pen and go with the flow. I often talk about this topic with my students during lectures. My advice to get out of a slump is to reflect on the various drawing techniques you know and think of how you would explain them to other people. This will help you get a better grasp of your own approach to art. Explaining how you come up with ideas, how you sketch, or how you color will help you understand your current skills. Seeing how your recent work compares to what you'd like to draw in the future will push you to try something new or look for patterns. This approach can help you get out of a slump faster than just continuing to draw relentlessly. Artists need a lot of energy to draw, both physical and inspirational. When we have energy, ideas tend to flow effortlessly, but if we're low on energy or our health and sleep schedule are disrupted, we're more likely to experience slumps. At times like these, stepping back and observing how others work or what inspires them can reignite your own creativity, even if you're not actively drawing. This can spark new ideas and make it easier to return to your work with renewed energy. Art can be summarized as the process of creating something, but as those with experience in the field know, it's a time-consuming and multifaceted process. If you stay focused on what you're doing and try different approaches, you'll find there are a few things you can't draw. For example, I struggle with drawing guns and machinery. Thinking about the final product can be overwhelming, but if I start by drawing a basic shape, like a rectangle, and then carve it until it becomes a gun, it becomes more manageable. Working through the process this way not only makes things much easier, but also allows me to take on new challenges and stay motivated. Even before drawing became my job, I wanted to keep doing it as a hobby, so I've always focused on using basic tools that allow me to draw pretty much anywhere. I mostly use default brushes and keep shortcuts and settings as standard as possible. This way, I can draw comfortably with any tool as long as I stick to the basic settings. I avoid relying on textured brushes or features that are only available with certain tools. I prefer smaller screens, as large ones can make me dizzy. I'm also sensitive to noise, so I prefer environments where I can listen to my favorite music rather than overly noisy spaces.